The streets of New York hummed with life as the sun began its descent behind the skyline. Cars honked impatiently, neon signs flickered to life, and people rushed to make their way home or catch a bite to eat. Among the crowd was Alex Carter, a young journalist, always observant, always curious. It was just another day in the chaotic pulse of the city. Or so he thought. But tonight, something strange was about to happen. Alex was on his way home, weaving through the sea of pedestrians, when he noticed the sky. At first, it was subtle, an odd shimmer across the clouds, like oil on water. The stars seemed to flicker and rearrange themselves in strange constellations he had never seen before. Then, without warning, a brilliant pillar of light shot down from the sky, splitting the air with a deafening hum. People froze in place, their conversations trailing off into stunned silence. The light flickered and expanded, forming glowing arcs across the sky in dazzling patterns. Auroras, far from their usual domain, danced over the cityscape. Alex's heart raced. He fumbled for his phone, snapping pictures instinctively. But as he lowered his phone, something else caught his attention. A figure standing at the edge of the crowd, watching the spectacle, with an expression that was too calm. The man, if that's what he was, stood out not because of what he wore, but because of the stillness that surrounded him. In a sea of shocked and bewildered faces, he seemed serene, almost amused. His eyes glowed faintly, like embers burning beneath a layer of ash. Alex's pulse quickened. The man glanced in his direction, and their eyes locked. For a moment, Alex felt a strange sensation, as if time had slowed. It was like staring into the heart of the universe, ancient, endless, and impossibly vast. Then, just as suddenly, the moment passed. The glowing figure turned and melted into the crowd, vanishing as if he had never been there. "Hey!" Alex called, pushing his way through the stunned bystanders. But by the time he reached the spot where the stranger had stood, he was gone. Alex couldn't shake the encounter from his mind. Back in his tiny apartment, he uploaded the photos of the auroras to his computer. But no matter how closely he zoomed in, the strange man was nowhere to be seen in any of the pictures. Impossible, Alex muttered to himself. He knew what he saw. He wasn't crazy. But why was there no trace of the man? For the next few days, Alex's life became a blur of obsessive research. He scoured online forums, dug through conspiracy theories, and even reached out to a few astronomers. No one had a solid explanation for the strange light show over the city, and no one believed his story about the glowing man. But Alex knew what he had seen, and it felt important. It was during his investigation that Alex stumbled across an obscure online thread about people throughout history who seemed to never age, figures who appeared in old photographs, paintings, and sculptures, seemingly untouched by time. Saints, monks, travelers. There was even a soldier in a 19th century battle who bore an uncanny resemblance to someone in a photograph from the 1990s. Alex leaned back in his chair, chills running down his spine. What if these weren't coincidences? What if some of these people weren't people at all? The idea was absurd, and yet it felt right. The next night, it happened again. Alex was walking through Central Park, hoping some fresh air might clear his mind. But as he crossed one of the old stone bridges, the air grew thick and electric. The temperature dropped suddenly, and a soft, golden light appeared ahead, flickering like a candle in the wind. From the shadows stepped Serafina. She was radiant yet grounded, her presence both calming and unsettling. Her golden hair shimmered like threads of sunlight, and her eyes, Alex recognized them instantly. They were the same eyes he had locked with that night on the street, the eyes that held eternity. "You've been searching for answers," Serafina said softly, her voice carrying an otherworldly cadence. It was a statement, not a question. Alex froze, his heart hammering in his chest. What are you?" Serafina smiled gently. "Not what you think, but not far from it either." She took a step closer, and the golden light around her seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. "We've been here for centuries, Alex, watching, guiding, hidden among you, waiting for the right moment." Alex's mouth felt dry. You're an angel." She nodded, though the words seemed too simple to capture the truth. "Yes and no. We are more than that. But what matters is that our time of hiding is over. A war is coming, Alex. A war that we cannot win without you." Alex stared at her, struggling to process her words. "A war? What kind of war?" "One that extends far beyond Earth," Serafina said, her expression darkening. "We were guardians once, protectors of life across the cosmos. But long ago, we were driven from the stars by an ancient enemy, the Erics." She closed her eyes, as if the name itself carried a heavy burden. "They devour worlds, Alex. Not just the physical, but the spiritual essence of civilizations. They thrive on fear, hatred, and despair. They almost wiped us out, and now they've found Earth." Alex took a step back, shaking his head. "Why Earth? Why now?" Serafina's gaze softened. "Because of you. Humans are unique, unlike any other beings we've encountered. Your ability to balance logic with emotion, to hope in the face of despair. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you dangerous." "And they're afraid of us?" Serafina nodded. "They fear what you could become. They fear that together we might stop them." Alex's mind raced. Aliens, Angels. A cosmic war. It was all too much, too fast. Why are you telling me this? What do you want from me? Because we need your help, Alex, Serafina said earnestly. We can't fight them alone. Our powers have diminished over the centuries, and without you, without humanity, we won't survive. She stepped closer, her glowing hand reaching out to him. Help us save your world and ours. Alex hesitated, every instinct screaming at him to walk away. This was insane, but deep down, he knew there was no turning back. With a deep breath, he reached out and took her hand. All right, Alex whispered. I'm in. The world Alex had known was gone. In the days following his encounter with Serafina, his life transformed in ways he could have never imagined. He was no longer just a journalist chasing stories. He was now part of something far bigger, something ancient. The angels, or whatever they truly were, had finally emerged from the shadows, and they needed humanity's help. Alex found himself standing in an underground facility hidden beneath the outskirts of New York. The place was nothing short of a revelation, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers filled with glowing symbols, strange artifacts, and beings he could hardly believe existed. Angels of different forms, some humanoid, others with wings of light, moved silently through the corridors, their faces etched with centuries of knowledge and burden. This is our refuge, Serafina explained as she led Alex deeper into the facility. We've waited here for generations, watching, protecting when we could. But now, the time for waiting is over. As they walked, Alex noticed other humans among the angels. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, people from all walks of life. Some had known about the angels for years. Others had been recruited just like him in the last few days. Everyone had one thing in common. They had been chosen to prepare for the impending war against the Erics. At the heart of the facility was a grand hall, its walls adorned with glowing sigils that pulsed with an energy Alex could feel in his bones. A large holographic map of the galaxy floated above a central table, displaying Earth, the angelic sanctuary, and a spreading stain of darkness, the Eric's invasion force moving toward their solar system. Do you see? Serafina pointed at the map. They are already on their way. We have little time. The plan was explained to Alex by a stern-looking man named Colonel Grayson, a retired military officer who had been working with the Angels in secret for years. Our first mistake, Grayson said, pointing at the map, would be underestimating these bastards. They're not just an alien race. They're parasites. They consume minds, bodies, and souls. Entire civilizations have been wiped out by their invasions. Serafina nodded. That's why we need humans. We tried to fight the Erics alone before, but we failed. Our powers, our grace, make us predictable to them. But humans, you are different. Your emotions make you chaotic, and your adaptability makes you dangerous. Alex frowned. So, what? You want us to fight for you? Not just fight, Serafina corrected. We fight together. You have something no other species possesses, the ability to blend logic with emotion. That balance could be the key to resisting the Erics. Grayson leaned forward, his eyes hard. The Erics infect your mind. They twist your perception, make you see things that aren't real, and drive you mad. But we've seen it already. Humans have a unique resistance to their influence. Your emotions protect your mind, giving you the strength to fight back. Alex nodded slowly, the gravity of their words sinking in. It was a fight not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity. The Angels had been training for centuries, but they knew little about human warfare. That's where people like Grayson and Alex came in. Together, humans and angels began forging an alliance, a blend of celestial power and mortal ingenuity. Alex found himself working with both humans and angels to develop battle strategies. He learned how to wield angelic artifacts, swords that glowed with pure energy, shields that could block more than just physical attacks. But he also taught the angels how to think like humans, to improvise, adapt, and push through chaos. In one training session, Alex watched as an angel named Ezekiel, a towering figure with wings of fire, struggled to adapt to human-style combat. Ezekiel was powerful, but his movements were rigid, bound by centuries of habit. Stop thinking like an angel, Alex said, stepping forward. You've been trained to act with precision, but that won't work against the Erics. They'll exploit your predictability. Ezekiel frowned, his fiery wings dimming slightly. Then what do you suggest, human? Improvise, Alex replied with a grin. When things go wrong, you adapt. You find a way. The angel tilted his head, as if the concept was foreign to him. But over the next few hours, Ezekiel began to loosen up, learning to fight like a human, unpredictable and fierce. One night, as Alex lay in the small bunk he had been assigned, he experienced something strange. It began as a dream. He was standing in an endless void, surrounded by shifting shadows. Whispers filled the air, cold and relentless, promising power and knowledge beyond comprehension. Then the shadows coalesced into a single terrifying form, an Eryx. It was an alien creature like nothing he had ever imagined, shifting, formless, a mass of tendrils and claws that seemed to defy logic. "You cannot win," the creature hissed, its voice like a blade scraping against stone. "We have devoured the stars. What makes you think you can stop us?" Alex stood his ground, even as the darkness pressed in around him. "Because we're human," he whispered, "and we never stop fighting." The creature laughed, a sound that echoed endlessly, twisting and warping reality around him. But before it could consume him, a burst of light shattered the darkness. Serafina appeared beside, her wings blazing with radiant fire. "This is only the beginning," she whispered as the dream dissolved. "They are trying to break your mind, but you must resist. We all must resist." Alex woke with a start, drenched in sweat. The war had already begun, inside their minds and souls. In the days that followed, the alliance between humans and angels grew stronger. They shared knowledge, weapons, and strategies, preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the Erics. Alex found himself at the heart of it all, an ordinary man thrust into extraordinary circumstances. He spent hours in the war room, poring over maps and simulations, working side by side with beings who had walked the earth for millennia. But even as they prepared for battle, there were moments of peace, small acts of kindness that reminded them of what they were fighting for. Alex shared stories of humanity's resilience with the angels, while they, in turn, revealed ancient tales of hope and redemption. In one quiet moment, Serafina told Alex about the first time she had encountered humans, how she had watched from the shadows as they struggled, fell, and rose again, always defying the odds. "You are more powerful than you realize," she said softly, "not because of your strength, but because of your heart." Alex smiled, feeling a strange sense of calm. For the first time since the war had begun, he felt hope, a belief that, together, they could win. The fragile calm didn't last long. Within days of the final preparations, the Erics made their first move, a brutal and relentless attack that left no doubt in anyone's mind. The invasion had begun. It started with an eerie silence that settled over Earth's upper atmosphere. Satellites blinked offline, and communication systems across the globe faltered. The angels, sensing the shift, gathered in the war room as the Erics fleet emerged from the void. Dark, twisting vessels, unlike anything humanity had ever seen. "They're here," Ezekiel whispered, his fiery wings flickering in the dim light. The holographic display showed hundreds of Eric ships descending into Earth's orbit. Massive carriers and scout ships blotted out the stars, their shapes shifting and pulsating as if they were alive. The Eric ships defied human understanding. They moved like creatures, not machines, slithering through the void as though searching for prey. "We need to intercept them before they hit the surface," Colonel Grayson barked, snapping orders to the human soldiers. "Scramble every available unit. We meet them head-on." The angels stood ready, their celestial weapons humming with power. But they knew they couldn't do this alone. This would be humanity's first test, a battle fought not just with guns and technology, but with the spirit to survive. Alex watched as the first human fleets launched from Earth, sleek fighter jets streaking toward the enemy ships. The angels followed, their forms shifting into blazing streaks of light as they ascended into the black sky. And so the war began. In orbit, the first wave of Earth's fighters clashed with the Eric's ships. Plasma beams and missiles exploded across the void, illuminating the darkness in a brilliant spectacle of destruction. Human pilots fought with the reckless ingenuity that had always defined them, darting through enemy fire with desperate precision. At first, it seemed as if the humans held their own. The Eric's ships were fast, but they lacked the organized strategy of Earth's forces. Colonel Grayson's tactics, a blend of angelic insight and human unpredictability, allowed them to score early victories. Eric's carriers were destroyed, their twisted remains scattering across space, but the Erics were adaptable. As the battle raged on, their ships began to shift and evolve, forming complex battle formations that outmaneuvered human pilots. It became clear that this was no ordinary enemy. They could learn, adapt, and respond with terrifying speed. Down on Earth, Alex and Serafina coordinated the defense from the war room. Every decision mattered. Every fighter lost was a blow to the Alliance. "We need to disrupt their command chain," Alex muttered, watching the battle unfold on the holographic display. "They're too coordinated. Their leaders are hidden within their carriers," Serafina replied. "If we can take out one of their command ships, then the rest will descend into chaos," Alex finished, a glimmer of hope lighting his eyes. "That's exactly what we need." Alex and Serafina knew that a direct assault on the Eric's command ship would be risky, but it was their best chance. They needed to hit the enemy where it hurt, disrupting their coordination before the battle was lost. While the rest of Earth's forces fought to keep the Eric's fleet at bay, a small strike team was assembled. It was a blend of human soldiers and angelic warriors, each one handpicked for the mission. Ezekiel led the team, his fiery wings blazing as he prepared for the assault. Alex, armed with a human-made plasma rifle, stood beside him. He wasn't a soldier, but he knew he had to fight. There was no going back now. "We're going in," Alex said, steeling himself for what was to come. The strike team infiltrated the Eric's command ship through a breach in its outer hull. Inside, the ship was a twisting labyrinth of organic corridors. The walls pulsed with dark energy, and strange alien whispers filled the air. "Stay close," Ezekiel warned. "The Erics will try to break your mind. Don't let them in." As they moved deeper into the ship, the whispers grew louder, twisting thoughts, memories, and fears. The Erics didn't just fight with weapons, they fought with fear, breaking their enemies from within. Alex felt the whispers clawing at his mind, dredging up every doubt and insecurity he had ever buried. He saw visions of Earth in ruins, his loved ones lost to the chaos. But just as the fear threatened to overwhelm him, Serafina's voice echoed in his mind. "Remember who you are. Hold on to your heart." It was enough. Alex took a deep breath, forcing the fear away. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for hope. At the heart of the ship, the strike team found the Eric's command core, a massive pulsating sphere that controlled the fleet. It was guarded by towering alien creatures, their forms constantly shifting and mutating. Ezekiel fought with ferocity, his flaming wings cutting through the creatures like a sword of light. The human soldiers fought beside him, their guns blazing, refusing to back down. Alex reached the command core. Just as the last of the Eric's guards fell, he knew what needed to be done. "This is for Earth," he whispered, setting a charge at the base of the core. With a deafening roar, the core detonated, a burst of light and energy that rippled through the entire ship. The Eric's fleet faltered, their coordination shattered in an instant. "Retreat!" Ezekiel shouted, pulling Alex toward the breach. The strike team escaped just as the command ship exploded, its twisted remains scattering into the void. Back on Earth, the tide of the battle had turned. With the Eric's command chain broken, the remaining enemy ships descended into disarray. Human and angelic forces pressed their advantage, driving the invaders from the solar system. The sky above Earth was filled with the wreckage of ships, human, angelic, and Eric's. The battle had been won, but at a heavy cost. In the war room, Alex stood beside Serafina, exhaustion etched into his face. "It's over," he whispered, struggling to believe it. "For now," Serafina replied soft, "but the Erics will return. They always do." The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Earth lay in ruins, and the angels were weakened from the effort of defending humanity. The alliance between humans and angels, forged in the fires of battle, now faced a new challenge: how to rebuild and prepare for what might come next. In the aftermath of the battle, the skies over Earth were still streaked with smoke from the fallen alien ships. The remnants of the Eric's fleet had fled, retreating into the void, but the fear of their return lingered like a dark shadow over humanity. Refugees flooded into the surviving cities, seeking shelter and comfort from the chaos. Hospitals overflowed with the injured, and rescue teams scoured the ruins for survivors. The angels worked alongside humans, healing where they could, offering solace to the grieving, and using their celestial abilities to rebuild shattered infrastructure. Despite the shared victory, distrust simmered beneath the surface. Some humans still looked upon the angels with suspicion, wondering why they had remained hidden for so long. Others feared that the Eric's attack might only be the beginning, and that the angels might attract more cosmic threats to Earth. Alex stood at the heart of the war-torn capital, surveying the ruins. His heart was heavy with exhaustion, but he knew that their fight was far from over. The war had forged new bonds between humans and angels, but it had also exposed deep fractures in both species. While the world struggled to rebuild, Alex spent his days poring over battle reports, analyzing enemy patterns, and searching for clues about the Eric's next move. One day, deep within the archive of angelic records, he stumbled upon something troubling. Buried within the ancient texts was a prophecy, one that spoke of a Maios, cosmic war, and the fall of celestial beings. It foretold that, one day, the angels would be forced to reveal themselves to mortals and fight alongside them. But the prophecy didn't end with a victory. Instead, it warned of an hidden betrayal among the celestial ranks, an angel who would side with the enemy. Alex felt a chill run down his spine as he read the words. Could it be possible that one of the angels might betray them? The Erics had proven to be formidable opponents, but a traitor in their midst could doom them all. He sought out Serafina, desperate to understand what the prophecy might mean. In a quiet sanctuary, hidden within the heart of the city, Alex confronted Serafina with the prophecy. She listened in silence, her face unreadable, but Alex could see the shadow of guilt flickering in her eyes. "There's something you haven't told me," Alex said softly. "What aren't you saying, Serafina?" She hesitated, then finally spoke, her voice low and filled with regret. "There is truth in the prophecy," she admitted. "Long ago, during the first cosmic war, Not all angels chose to remain loyal to the light. Some fell. They were seduced by the power that the darkness promised. Alex's eyes widened. You mean fallen angels? Traitors? Yes, Serafina whispered, and we fear that some of them might still walk among us, hidden in the shadows, waiting for their chance to strike. The revelation hit Alex like a blow. The idea that the angels, beings he had come to trust and fight beside, might harbor a hidden traitor was almost too much to bear. If the Erics had already turned one of the angels against them, it could explain their uncanny knowledge of Earth's defenses during the invasion. But who could it be? Ezekiel? Another high-ranking angel? The seeds of doubt were planted, and they began to grow. Alex felt a deep weariness settle over. The battle with the Erics had taken its toll on him, but this new threat, the idea of betrayal from within, was something far more insidious. It would erode their alliance from the inside, breaking apart everything they had fought so hard to build. We need to find them before it's too late, Alex said grimly. If there's a traitor among us, we can't afford to wait. Serafina nodded, her gaze filled with sorrow. We will search for the truth, she promised. Together, the days that followed were tense. The angels and humans began to watch each other with suspicion, looking for any sign of disloyalty. Paranoia crept into the ranks, threatening to unravel the fragile peace they had fought so hard to create. Strange things began to happen. Plans for future defenses went missing. Critical supplies vanished from stockpiles, and communication relays were sabotaged. Someone was working in the shadows, sowing chaos, and Alex knew they were running out of time. One night, as Alex reviewed security footage from the war room, he saw something that chilled him to the bone. An angel, one of the trusted commanders, was seen meeting with a shadowy figure at the edge of the city. It was brief, just a fleeting glimpse, but it was enough. The traitor, Alex whispered. It has to be. Alex and Serafina devised a plan. They would confront the suspected traitor and force them to reveal their true allegiance. But they couldn't afford to be reckless. The Erics might still be watching, waiting for their moment to strike. We need to draw them out, Alex said. Make them think they've won. Serafina nodded. I will confront the traitor, she said. They will trust me. Alex didn't like the idea, but he knew it was the only way. Serafina would go alone, meeting the traitor under the guise of a friendly conversation, while Alex and a team of soldiers watched from the shadows. The night of the confrontation arrived. Serafina stood alone, in a deserted alley, waiting for the traitor to arrive. Alex watched through the scope of a sniper rifle, his heart pounding in his chest. He prayed that they were making the right choice. Then, out of the shadows, the traitor stepped forward, a familiar figure wrapped in angelic light, but with a darkness in their eyes. You betrayed us, Serafina said softly, her voice filled with sorrow. Why? The traitor smiled, a cold, bitter smile. Because the Erics promised me something you never could, they whispered. Freedom. The traitor stood before Serafina, their celestial glow dimmed by the darkness in their soul. The night air was thick with tension, and Alex held his breath, hidden in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to act. You've lost yourself, Serafina whispered, her voice heavy with sorrow. There's still time. Come back to us. The traitors shook their heads slowly, their smile tinged with regret. It's too late, Serafina. The Erics have already begun their final assault. The future belongs to them. Suddenly, a crackling pulse rippled through the night, signaling the arrival of an Eric strike team. The trap had been sprung, but not by Alex or Serafina. The traitor had lured them into an ambush. Out of the darkness, Eric's soldiers materialized, their forms sleek and deadly, weapons glowing with alien energy. Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he whispered into his communicator, "Now!" A hail of bullets and angelic energy bolts rained down from the shadows. Alex and his squad sprang into action, their weapons cutting through the alien forces with lethal precision. Serafina lunged toward the traitor, her wings flaring with divine light as they clashed in midair. Everything ends tonight, the traitor hissed, summoning dark energy to counter Serafina's celestial might. The battle was fast and brutal. Angels and humans fought side by side, their teamwork honed by the shared struggle for survival. The Erics were powerful, but they weren't prepared for the fury of humanity, and the angels united against them. While the battle raged around them, Serafina and the traitor engaged in a deadly dance, their blades clashing in brilliant arcs of light and darkness. Sparks flew as they exchanged blows, the air crackling with divine energy. You were once our brother, Serafina said, her voice filled with anguish. Why do you fight for them? The traitor sneered, their eyes gleaming with malice. Because they showed me the truth. You bind yourselves to humanity, but they are weak. The Erics will bring order, something we never could. Serafina's heart broke, but she knew what had to be done. With a flash of light, she struck a decisive blow, severing the connection between the traitor and the dark energy that had corrupted them. The traitor staggered, their celestial glow flickering as the darkness dissipated. For a moment, their eyes softened, filled with regret. I was wrong, they whispered before collapsing to the ground. Meanwhile, Alex fought his way through the chaos, making his way toward the heart of the Eric's assault force. The air was thick with smoke and fire, and alien weapons crackled around him as he pushed forward. At the heart of the enemy formation stood the Mao, Eric's commander, a towering figure draped in alien armor, radiating malice and power. This was the mastermind behind the invasion, the one who had orchestrated the war from the shadows. Alex locked eyes with the commander. This was it, the moment everything would be decided. The Eric's commander unleashed a devastating blast of energy, but Alex dodged just in time, rolling to the side and firing his weapon. The bullets ricocheted harmlessly off the alien's armor, but Alex didn't stop. He pressed forward, fueled by determination and the knowledge that he carried the hopes of both humanity and the angels. The battle between Alex and the Eric's commander was fierce. Every strike felt like it could be his last, but Alex fought with everything he had. He wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for Earth, for the angels, and for the future of every living being in the galaxy. As the commander raised its weapon for a killing blow, Serafina appeared beside Alex, her wings glowing with renewed strength. Together, they struck with perfect precision, combining human ingenuity with divine power. The Eric's commander let out a terrible scream, its form crumbling beneath the weight of their combined attack. With one final, desperate strike, Alex drove his weapon into the alien's core, ending the fight. The commander's body disintegrated, leaving behind only silence. The battle was over, but Undakes, the cost had been high. The traitor lay among the fallen, their sacrifice a bittersweet reminder of the darkness that had nearly consumed them all. The angels and humans gathered, their faces solemn but filled with quiet hope. Serafina stood beside Alex, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered, her voice soft and filled with gratitude. Alex nodded, his heart heavy with both relief and sorrow. The world they had known was gone, but a new one was waiting to be built, one where humans and angels would stand together, united against any threat that might come. In the days that followed, humans and angels worked side by side to rebuild what had been lost. The old divisions began to fade, replaced by a new sense of unity and purpose. The angels, once hidden in the shadows, now stood openly among humanity, their presence a beacon of hope in a world forever changed. Alex looked to the skies, knowing that the battle they had fought was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast and filled with unknown dangers, but for the first time in centuries, humanity was no longer alone. With Serafina by his side, Alex knew they could face anything. Together, they had defied the odds, and together, they would forge a future brighter than any they could have imagined.